what's up, Botb Xte2 fans, contestants, and all the rest of you other judges out there. You know who you are. Anyway, round 4 happened, and yeah, I'm gonna get into a recap video of it. It's not my usual, of course. Unfortunately, I'll get back to my usual when round 5 comes around, and you know, the final round, of course. Anyway, so round 4, 80s theme, cultural, hype, upbeat. You know, the deal. Now, let me give you guys an explanation of how the judging worked for this round and how it's been working for all the rounds. Each round had a theme, so therefore the theme is what needed to be emphasized heavily. Now, for 80s theme, cultural, hype, upbeat, we gave point system for one match because it was hard to judge. So the 80s theme got 50 points, the cultural aspect got 35 points, and the hype upbeat got 15 points. So that's how you get 100 points for all of those, you know, criteria. So we're going to get into the matches. I'm not going to give scores for each match because some of the matches were easier to judge than others. So I'm just going to get into it. First up, you got Negrosaki versus CGCon Retrofusion. Negrosaki, you win your match, so you go through to the next round. Reason why is because you had a heavily 80s influenced track. In fact, your track, along with one other track, was quite possibly the best 80s influenced track this entire round. And then you had the cultural aspect, which gave it was well put together. Put it like that. You could have used a little more upbeat tempo, maybe a little more hype in there, but as far as like the main criteria goes, the main 85 points that you needed, you nailed that. So you go through to the next round. CGCon, your track could have used a little more 80s influence, even though I'm sure the track you used, the sample you used, was 80s based. It was hard to tell, which is what I was trying to get at when I was saying using the same tech. Like, there's nothing wrong with the techniques you were using. It was just hard to actually recognize your sample without having to go back and listen to the sample itself. So there you go. Next up, you got Glyphic the Overthinker versus Prince C. Glyphic, you go through to the next round. I love your 80s influence. Your cultural aspect could have been more there, but it was well put together nonetheless, because your funk section at the end was, I like the funk section. It was really good. It was really good. Prince C, your track just got repetitive. That's what hurt you the most. You got the criteria as far as 80s, you got the cultural, you got the upbeat part, but the hype could have used a little bit more, but it just got repetitive. So in other words, repetition in a battle setting is not all that great unless you use it in a very, you know, sparse manner. So put it like that. So there you go, Glyphic, you move through to the next round. Third, John Gonzalez or CGCon, not CGCon, Shin Level God or Ruler Inc., who didn't have an opponent for the third time again. Yeah, he's actually on a one-way ticket to possibly winning this entire thing because he's gone uncontested. So, John, you move through to the next round. And I hate you for saying that track was light work or slacking, because if that was slacking, then I really suck. Let me just put it like that. Moving on. So in other words, I hate you. Last but not least, Devon versus Heat Flare. This track was the hardest match, not track. This match was the hardest to judge. Reason why is because both tracks were amazing. Like, quite possibly the best tracks this entire round. MVP was coming out of this round, or out of this match, hands down. Didn't matter what. MVP was coming out of this round, out of this match. So, here we go. Devon Thompson, you move through to the next round. Here's why. I had to use a scoring system for this match. The judges had to use a scoring system for this match. Now, I had both tracks at a tie, believe it or not. So my scores for each track were: Devon's track, I gave a 50 out of 50 for the 80s influence, a 30 out of 35 for the cultural aspect, and a 10 out of the hype upbeat for the feels. For Heat Flare, I gave a 40 out of 50 for the 80s influence. I gave a 35 out of 35 for the cultural, and a 15 out of 15 for the feels. Now, here's the reason why Devon moves to the next round. Devon got a 50 out of 50 for the 80s influence. Now, you understand that the 80s is more heavily emphasized or more heavily weighted than the other aspects. So, therefore, you get Devon moving through to the next round because overall his track it fit the criteria more. This is not to say that Heat Flair's track didn't blow Devon's track out of the water, because in all honesty, Heat Flair's track is probably the best track this entire round. I'm just saying. His track is probably the best track this entire round. He attacked all of the fields from every angle, which is what's necessary for this tournament. To encourage growth, we want you to attack everything, all of the criteria, not just emphasize one criteria, which is why Devon didn't get a complete 100 points. Because had he emphasized all of the criteria, then Devon would have definitely hands down gone through to the next round. Same thing with Heat. Had Heat used more of an 80s influence in this track, then Heat hands down would have won this match, and would have won MVP. Because Heat Flair's track, I felt, was the best track out of this entire round. I'm just saying. That's just my own personal opinion, because if you go back and listen to what Heat Flair did, it was amazing. Let me just leave it like that. Regardless, Devon moves through to the next round because overall his track emphasized the criteria a little bit better. Let me just leave it like that. So, to recap, your winners. Sorry, it just had a little crazy mishap on the road here. I'm going to say this a third time. To recap your winners, you have Negrosaki, Devon Thompson, Glyphic the Overthinker, and John Gonzalez. Or Shiji. Why do I keep saying Shiji-Khan? Why do I want to call you Shiji-Khan? Maybe it's because I hate you so much. Chin Level God or Ruler Inc. There you go. So those are your top four. Devon Thompson is your MVP. Because like I said, MVP was going to come out of his match regardless of who won between him and Heat Flair. Devon Thompson is your MVP. So your next round tracks are due sometime next week. I don't know the exact date. I will post it in the comments section, or I will post it in the description of this video once I find out. And yeah, next round, round 5 is going to be a country aspect. It's going to be a country theme, so you guys understand the judging process. You guys want to emphasize the theme, make sure that is heavily noted in your track, but don't neglect the fields. Attack all the criteria as much as you can, okay? Don't just emphasize one over the other. Attack all the criteria. And there you go. So yeah, this is Musical Prof, your head judge, Botb Xte2 signing off. Hope to hear some beautiful tracks for the next round, and you guys did an amazing job this round. So yeah, there you go. Deuces, peeps.